Welcome to Reaching New Heights with Troy Bell, the city manager, City of Muskegon Heights, where you get to know what you need to know so you'll be in the know. Every Wednesday at 2, not Tuesday, Wednesday at 2, here at 1037 The Beat. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in and being a part of the show and joining us for these segments every Wednesday. We've got a full house today, some exciting things to talk about. Got 4 or 5 guests that'll be joining us, so I'm excited to get that started off. But I do want to start off real quick and give you some announcements, things that you need to know so you'll be in the know. Um, the last day for leaf pickup for Republic was on the 17th of December. So if you still got leaf bags left, you got to figure out how to either get them down to DPW, and there's a 50-cent charge for each bag that you bring down to DPW. Or if you want DPW to pick them up, you can get up to 30 bags picked up for $20. You need to come down to City Hall and pay the amount based on the number of bags that you have, and they will schedule you for a pickup. If you want to drop your bags off down at DPW, come into City Hall and get your stickers. And like I said, it's 50 cents per bag. So if you've got 4 bags, that'll be $2. If you've got 8 bags, that'll be $4, which would be the cost of one sticker. So come on down to City Hall over at the treasurer's office and drop off the money, and we can schedule you either for a pickup or give you the stickers so that you can go drop them off down at DPW. So we were able to get Republic to extend beyond November 30th, which is when the contract says that they're supposed to end, and they went up to December 17th, but now we have to make other arrangements for the leaf bag pickups. Uh, Also, I want to remind everybody that council meetings are every second and fourth Monday of the month. So, coming up in January, that will be January 10th and January 24th. Those are the next meetings in the month of January. And I want to remind everybody to be prepared for the spring cleanup because 2022 is going to be clean Muskegon Heights. And so, I want everybody to have on their minds as we go through this winter season that when spring hits, be ready, be prepared, whatever tools you need to clean up, to pick up any trash in the area in front of your house, to the left of your house, to the right of your house, and make sure that if you've got trash that we find a trash can or receptacle to put it in because 2022 is going to be clean Muskegon Heights. So I want to remind everybody that City Hall is closed today and tomorrow for the holidays, and we will be reopening on Monday. So if you have any business that you need to conduct, please come in on Monday because City Hall is closed today and tomorrow for the holiday. And I think that is it for announcements. So let us go ahead and get going, moving with the show. I have as our guest today, returning MVP, Ms. Phyllis Laudermill. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
And we also have Councilman Ron Jenkins coming on. Thank you, Councilman Jenkins. Welcome to the show again.
Thank you
And
very
then
much.
welcome. And Councilman Derek Collins. I don't think we've had you on the show, at least not on live stream, Councilman Collins. So um, I think this is your first debut,
First,
huh?
yes.
All right. Welcome to the show.
Thank
And
you.
then also we have joining us our esteemed state senator, Honorable John Bumstead.
Hello, how is everybody?
All good. Thank you very much for joining us. Excited to
Happy to
have
be
you
here.
in. And then I think that wraps up everybody that we have. Like I said, we had a full house today.
Well,
So
I think you have Clifford.
I
I think he's
oh
in
yeah,
his
there he
construction
is. Yep.
over there.
Mr. Clifford McLean. I didn't see you sneak in there. Welcome to the show, Mr. McLean.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McLean is one of the construction companies, developers that is interested in developing in Muskegon Heights. So I was like repeatedly in the show and on the dais talk about the need to build new houses and how important that is to our future. Mr. McLean was that individual that was interested in purchasing. Actually, he said he wanted to do 100 houses in Muskegon Heights, and I said, well, let's start off with a small chunk. Let's start off with 30 and see how that works. And so that's where that proposal came for 30 houses and 30 lots. And I think we eliminated one, so it ended up being 29 lots that he was looking to purchase to build new homes. So now that we've introduced everybody, I think we've got a little bit of an echo uh, that we're taking care of here. I want to kick it over to Ms. Laudermill to start off the show. And before you start, I'm sorry, that's a false start. We had this past meeting at council, we were on the precipice. We were at the point where we could have entered into default because, as the state statute, Uniform Budgeting Act requires, every municipality has to have a approved balanced budget in place by the start of their fiscal year. And for us, that's January 1. And because we did not have an approved budget until this past Monday, we were in danger of default. And it was a difficult meeting. We needed 5 votes according to the charter in order to approve the budget. And it was a little bit of a wrestling match for 4 hours. But eventually we were able to get the fifth vote. And I think we ended up finishing with 6 votes to approve the budget so that we would have an approved balanced budget in place. And I just want to make one caveat before we start. There were some questions about what is the definition of a balanced budget. So I went back to the state and I said, here is what the Uniform Budgeting Act says. What is your definition of a balanced budget that would meet these requirements? And they said, the answer is a budget that shows either a zero balance where your revenues equal your expenditures, or a surplus would qualify for a balanced budget. And I said, well, what if the quality of the numbers is, that are projected for revenues or expenditures um, are difficult to assess? And they said, well, we understand that everything is a projection. And as long as it's what could be considered a reasonable projection, then that qualifies. And I said, well, how do you look at reasonable? And they said, well, it's based on, is there any fact or reason behind it? So if you're saying that you're going to get revenue from, let's say, 100 houses, and that revenue is going to be $50 per house, then your projected revenue should be 50 times 100. And if there's some logic behind that, then that's what they look to see. Now, if you say you're going to get revenue from 100 houses and it's $50 per house and there's only 10 houses, then there's a problem. But if you have 100 houses and you're expecting 50 from each, yes, maybe one of those houses might not pay, maybe half of those houses might not pay that $50, whatever that may be. But at least you have some logic behind how you are predicting or projecting that. And as long as there's logic, then that's what they were looking for. And they understand that no logic is perfect. The world isn't perfect, and particularly in the pandemic that we're dealing with now, it's very difficult to look at trends. Typically we like to look at in budgeting at 5-year trends. What has the last 5 years been for revenue for this number? What has the last 5 years been for cost in this expenditure category? But we all understand that in 2020, February, March, all of that kind of went out the window because expenses took a jump, and costs associated with COVID took a jump. I think I can do without these, right? Okay. Costs took a jump and our revenues took a dump. And so between the jump and the dump, it threw all budgets off. And that's why the American Rescue Plan was put into place, because Congress realized that there was going to be a need as they tried to help out individuals and they tried to help out businesses through this crisis, there was also a need to help out local government units. And so, fortunately, we have a balanced budget. We understand what a balanced budget is right now. And um, but one thing that I wanted to make very, very clear, and I said this in every meeting, is if we're going to use American Rescue Plan money, and in this budget, it's $2.6 million of the $11 million that were allocated for us that we are going to be using in this budget this year. If we're going to use that money, then we need to do things differently because otherwise we will be back in the same spot that we are now. And if you look at over the last few years at the city of Muskegon Heights, our expenses have continued to increase, even though there's been no significant increase in purchases or spending. But just the cost of goods and materials, the cost of living has gone up, yet our revenue has remained flat or declining. And so, in order for us to be able to operate in this new world that we're in, we have to generate new revenue. We have to generate revenue streams. And if we don't do that, we're going to be in the same spot that we were in 2021 and 2020. So my point on the record was, if we're going to use this $2.6 million, please, to my council, let's resolve to do things differently. Let's resolve to go out there and generate and create new revenue streams. And that brings us back to the discussion about new houses, because there were some starts and stops in 2021 around this notion of new houses. So with that, I'll take a breather. And Ms. Laudermill, you were in the audience for this meeting. What were your impressions?
Well, that is the reason why, and thank you for allowing the team to come in. So I reached out to Cliff McLean, who is a new developer member with HERCO and those groups in Avalon, and I reached out to the senator, who is a champion in helping us to look at all the different avenues that we can raise monies to our community. And then I reached out to the council because I thought it was very important that some of them would be a part of this conversation. So sitting in the room and being part of that and being, it's some people will always say, well, you don't live here. Well, I grew up here and I'm a business owner here, so this is home for me. But more so in doing that and trying to make sure we understood it. What I understood and what I heard is that we did not, for some reason, recognize our value. And so when I started hearing that there was an option for us to even consider not voting or considering voting no, and not understanding the key word that you were recommending, and recommendation did not mean that it was a positive yes. That's what you did your job. For some reason, we could not move past that. The fact that we were willing to lose our police department, we was willing to lose the fire department, we were willing to close the city, we were willing to lose the jewel, the things that we have, it literally scared me to death.
Now, let me clarify too, when you say lose, because as of January 1, if we did not have a budget approved that was a balanced budget in place, then we would not have been able to let the police officers go to work or the firemen go to work. Public Works, the entire city would be shut down.
Yes. And pick up trash. So just kind of like processing it, because when you're in the room, it's real hard, but you listen. But when you walk away from the whole 5 hours that we were there, if we don't realize we were so near death, I just want us to know that we literally died. And it took, and thank God for Reverend Guy, because he was the caveat that for some reason it shook the room in order for them to pay attention that you're getting ready to give away your birth line. And so it took me back to the time when I was in Detroit and they called about that we gave away our school. Now, they didn't take Muskegon Heights. Mind you, that board gave Muskegon Heights away. And so I saw the replay of that, and it was very daunting.
So what you're talking about there is the emergency manager came in, and when the emergency manager comes in, which would have been the possibility if we did not, a strong possibility, if we did not pass a balanced budget, then the state has the authority, because we're in default, to come in and take over management of the city.
And you know
And
what's
let me just say this, an emergency manager comes in, they don't care about who's who, they only care about the numbers and balancing. And so that means firing people, that means shutting things down, that means selling things. And the first thing that comes to mind that has huge value in this community is the water filtration plant.
but what came to mind more so,
Mhm.
I journal at night, and there was one key quote that one of the councilmen said that he did not believe that they would take Muskegon Heights away. And what that told me is that if your council and if your leaders don't understand your value, that is the reason why people in this community would say to me every day, who would want to live here? Who will buy a house in Muskegon Heights? Who? If your leaders don't think that what you have is valuable, and you don't know that you can't play a Russian roulette with this, there's no reason why we think the way we think.
Right.
That's what I walked away. That they thought that nobody wanted Muskegon Heights except for them. They thought that our voting power, for those of us who don't vote, was so valuable that they could outlive what we had done. And when I said it then, I said it now. We will never got this place back until Jesus comes. Matter of fact, we've been dead. Our children would have been dead. Muskegon Heights would not be looking like us at all. And so when we look at that, and I thought about it, I went back to get partners because first is Cliff McLean. Cliff McLean and their group had actually came to Muskegon Heights to ask for properties. For whatever reason,
29, 30 lots.
30 lots, it didn't get passed.
It was brought before council on 3 separate occasions.
But thank God that Avalon Windows and Doors, you let us in. So at that point, with you letting us in, I went back to get Mr. McLean. And building
And when
that,
you say you, the city council, right?
well, when I say I, Herco Avalon had to go back to ask Cliff McLean and his group if they would come and joint venture with us in order for us to have a group to build houses.
Right.
In doing so, because we were already at the door, we have a partnership, that automatically means for us as developers that that's a great fit, because it's a way to say, come in, bring your value, because we didn't ask for any money.
Right.
And we're still not going to ask you for any. And so that's the reason why then I went and got Senator Bumstead, which I know is probably one of the smartest senators ever, that if anybody knew where the money was at, whatever I couldn't get and I couldn't bring, he could help me find.
Right.
And he embraced the new promise. He understood it. He took it as a champion. He brought everybody to the table that wanted to get there. So I knew that bringing that team together, there was no reason why we couldn't win. Yeah. But more so,
it's all about building the team.
But I wanted the city to understand, for our sake, for you, there's so much not clarity about this whole budget and whatever. The biggest thing I've heard that thing, and maybe it's because I'm going to say we as a city, maybe what we don't understand and hear is the fact that they're asking questions about, is the money still really there? I don't know. If it is, maybe we need to clarify, because I think sometimes what's missing is that extra step of clarification. Because when council people come out and they don't make it clear to the people boots on the ground, they're confused. And that's all I heard today was, what's really going on, Miss Phyllis? Is he really that bad? No, he's not that bad. He's very smart. Is he doing anything wrong? Not to my knowledge. I don't know. I don't think he is. Well, where's the money at? These are questions that people need to come to council meeting so they can have the answers. And then I think once we do that, we won't have that fight that we had in the city hall on Monday.
Well, if you remember, if you've been tuning into the shows, I announced when the American Rescue Plan was awarded to the city in the amount of 10.6, I think it's 10.682,772. No, 10.684,772 is the amount that was awarded to the city. And then when the way it's set up, you get half of it in the first year and you get half of it in the second year. And then you have 4 years to be able to spend it. So that half, which is about $5.5 million, is sitting in the bank right now, waiting for the council to appropriate those funds. As of Monday night, they've appropriated 2.6 million of that to be used in 2022.
Thank you for explaining,
Mhm.
because there were people in that room that was very clear that that money is not there. And so I think the people that was grumbling, I really believe they love this city.
Oh, absolutely.
I said to the one lady, I don't think you're messy. I just think you may be misled. I think you may be misunderstood. I think, but then in all ways, you get an understanding.
Hmm.
And so I think in passing, now that this whole budget has passed,
Hmm.
and the fact that we're going to be discussing what they may not like in the budget, I think the best thing is for us as citizens to get a good understanding,
Right.
so that when we throw our stones, that we are very well learned about what's really going on.
So I'd like to bring in Councilman Jenkins on this. Councilman Jenkins, you're still with us here? All right. So council approved the schedule to review the budget back in November. And that schedule said that you would get the budget on the 6th of December. There would be a meeting on the 13th of December. And then the budget hearing to approve the budget would be on the 20th of December. That was the schedule, if I remember correctly, and you tell me if your memory is the same, that council approved in November with the specific objective of not having to go to December 27th because people were going to be in the holiday season. And if we could avoid having to meet on the 27th, then would be good to be able to get it done starting on the 6th, again on the 13th, and then finally on the 20th. And in that approval of the budget schedule, budget approval process schedule, it was clearly said that if you have questions when you get the budget on the 6th, you will have a week before the meeting to be able to ask questions, to set up an appointment one-on-one with the city manager, and to review your questions on the budget. And then if you had additional questions from the 13th to the 20th, that would give you 7 more days to be able to review and ask questions. Is that your recollection?
Yeah, and I think you stated it very clearly, and the dates and things. I think one of the things that we don't do, and or that we fail to do, and I know that we are working diligently, and talking to some council members, is actually, just paying more attention to what we're voting on, what we're talking about, so that we can follow through. Because a lot of things that I found out, that I'm finding out, is our lack of communication. And sometimes I don't know how many people are writing things down, keeping note, keeping track, and being able to look at their emails, look at their messages, or whatever the case might be. Like I said, I'm new to this thing, not new to the city, not new to what's going on. But there are some things that I know that we need to do. I know there are some things that we can change, and it's going to change for the better as long as we keep doing what we're doing now, keeping that open communication, keeping that transparency there, and giving people to know what they need to know so that they don't have to go try to find out the wrong way what they should be knowing anyway, and come to the
I
meeting
love how you
to
picked
do
up
that.
my phrase. Get to know what you need
And
to know so you'll be in the know.
well, that's what that's all it is. At the end of the day, if we're coming to meetings and we're presenting ourselves in the meetings as such, then we can get the facts.
Mhm.
I think I'm out there talking to citizens all the time. And it's amazing how I pick up on keywords. Keywords is important to me, because one thing that I've learned over the years and schooling, one word can change the whole concept of a sentence. And that is sometimes can be misleading and misunderstood. So a lot of things that we're doing, yes, to answer your question, we had the packets more than enough time in order for us to ask the questions that was necessary and needed. One of the main things that I say that I'm hoping that we can do differently coming into the new year is to be able to sit down with the city manager and sit down amongst each other to do those things. One of the things that we should have done, and I'm hoping that we can do differently, once those meetings are in, um, the presentation that we made to the public, that wasn't for us as council members. That was not supposed to be for us as council members. That was to present it to the public, and if the public had questions, then we were able to address that collectively as a group.
Mhm.
That didn't happen because we were still, as a council, trying to ask questions in the public at the wrong time.
And
That was the
that's
right time. That was the right time for us to do that, and that was from December 6th
to the 20,
through
to the
the
December.
20th or whatever the case may have been. So that's my point of view of it. But I'm very optimistic that we're going to do better. We brought those things to the table. People are now talking, and I don't fault council for asking questions. I'll say this on the record again. Many of the questions that was asked from council members, I had those same questions, and I sat down. I called the city manager maybe on 2 occasions that I know for a fact, and I met. And one day I met with you almost 7 hours. I was at the city hall for literally almost 7 hours straight.
Mhm.
Um, but I did that because I wanted to know better, and I wanted to know what I needed to know. And it really frustrated me, I would say, to the fact that the same exact questions that I had asked, that I had to sit in a 3 hour, 4 hour meeting for other people to ask when those things should have been asked prior to. So, but
Now,
I think we're going to get better.
did you feel that you had ample time during that 2 week period to ask the questions, to review the budget, and to ask the questions to resolve any concerns or questions that you had?
Well, I'll say it like this here. Budgets are not new to me. I've been doing this for quite some time now. Been taught, and I've had to be a part of creating budgets and different things myself.
Hmm.
So it wasn't new. What is new is me being with the city as a council person, a council member, and I needed to know for myself how the line items were and what was important, what was from 2021 and what was going to be for 2022. And when I was able to see that, I had some questions and some concerns that I wanted to have addressed prior to me voting and putting in, because when I vote on something, I want to know what I'm talking about. And so I didn't want to be surprised, and I asked you as city manager, is there anything that I need to know, anything that's going to be a surprise in this budget that I need to know? And that's the way that I deal with it. I have no respect to person, whether it's the mayor, city manager, council people. I'm going to ask the necessary questions so that when my name go out there, when I vote, that I'm voting with a pure conscience and voting on behalf of the city of Muskegon Heights.
Well, I appreciate that, and I want to bring in Councilman Collins, and yeah, I think part of the challenge might be not realizing that the fiduciary responsible entity for the city is the council, and the council is effectively, according to our charter, elected to assume or accept that fiduciary responsibility for the city. And part of that is an obligation to have a balanced budget in place before the fiscal year starts. The way the charter set up, it requires that the city manager provide a proposed balanced budget. That's the city manager's job, to provide that proposed balanced budget. But the obligation is incumbent upon the council to adopt a budget, whatever that budget might look like. However, they get to that conclusion, that every council, according to the Uniform Budget Act, has the obligation of adopting a balanced budget by the start of the fiscal year. And for us, that would have been January 1st. And so I want to bring in Councilman Collins and ask you the same question. Did you feel like you had adequate time during that between the 6th of December and the 20th of December to review your budget in accordance with the schedule that council approved? I mean, it was council that approved those dates. Am I correct?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, it was enough time for me to call you, which I call you every day.
Yes, sir. Hmm.
So I ask all my questions, so I won't get into the meetings asking questions, holding up the meetings.
Hmm.
Compared to last year, when I became council, I received a budget a week when I got there, and it was time to go over the budget, and it was new to me.
Hmm.
But this year, I knew what to look for.
Hmm.
So anything that in there that I don't understand, I always call the city manager. I was told that when I became council, that I couldn't go without speaking. You have to go speak to the city manager for everything before you go speak to even the staff.
Hmm.
So they got on me about it. So I'm gonna put it that way. They got on me about it.
Hmm.
But from that point, I learned that
Hmm.
you have to go through the city manager. So I went, all my questions go to the city manager. I call him as much as I can. Anything I don't understand, he explains it. I think it was a way amount of time for us to go over that budget. I don't know what everybody's schedule looked like.
Right.
I'm a second shifter, so I get up in the morning and read it.
Mhm.
Before I go to work, I call the city manager. On the way to work, I'll call him again.
Mhm.
It's just all about communication. There's no communication in there. We need to step up our communication, and we shouldn't be against one another. It's for the city, and that's how I feel about. And the city manager has done his job. There's a lot of things that I don't agree with, but it's the city that I think about, and everybody in our city. We don't want to shut nothing down because of your feelings. And I
Right.
thank you for it, city manager. And I thank Reverend Guy as well for stepping up and speaking out.
And I think the way he put it is, says it doesn't make any sense for you to let the gas get turned off when you got money
You got
in
a
your
pocket full of money. That's
pocket
right.
full.
I wrote it down.
Now, there were some questions about actually receiving the budget. Did you get your budget on the 6th or the 7th?
I received my budget on the 6th.
Okay. And so you had some thoughts about how, this question about not getting things or getting things can be resolved.
Right. I spoke with you today on that. I think we need to sign for our budget, for our package,
Mm-hmm.
or we pick our package up. I hate to take our officers out of their job by delivering package.
Mm-hmm.
But if we all can come together and agree on a way to receive our package, but I think we should sign for our package. So it won't be, I didn't receive my package. I didn't get this package. And we
Right.
can stop all of that. Because that's the
Right.
least that that thing we should be worried about right now.
Agreed. So hopefully that's something that council can come together and decide a process that everybody's comfortable with, so that we can guarantee that everybody's on the same page at the same
Right.
time. Right. Well, I'd love to bring in now Senator Bumstead, and I know that you're dealing with municipalities all across your region, and having that vantage point. You see the different cities and villages and townships go through this difficult, painful process of putting a budget together.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, from your experience in the years in office, uh, is it the obligation of the municipal boards to put together that final budget?
Yes, it's similar to state level as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, part of the problem we have at the local levels is new elected officials they just don't know the process,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes a year or two to figure that out. And anytime you have elections every couple of years for city council members, this retraining, and it just takes a while. It's the same way at the state level with the House reps and senators. We have senators that have never been in Lansing before, or they've never been a House rep, and they get appointed to appropriations, and they don't know how the process works.
Sure.
And you need to hire really good staff that know the process, that know all the different departments, that give you the information to make that decision. And I have 5 staff members, and I have to rely on their expertise. And the more you're educated by your staff, is going to make that process better for me, but also for you. Because I can't help Muskegon Heights or the city of Muskegon or the city of Nuevo or Shelby unless I know what's in that budget and how we can access the different departments. And that's what's really key is you have to have, and I rely on really good staff work.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I certainly appreciate your unique perspective and the vantage point that you have working with, because sometimes as a city, we're in our own world and our own bubble and our own foxhole, trying to fight it out, and don't realize that some of the problems that we face are very similar to our neighbors and
Correct.
what we're dealing with. And
Yep, you're not creating any new problems here. It's the same thing. Budget time, it's the same everywhere.
mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with having a good conversation. Sometimes they can be heated.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. As long as you can leave that meeting friends and for the same goal in mind down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so critical to get the budgets done on time and you know how the departments are going to be funded.
Right. Right.
But
And
I also like your council to know, Manager Bell, him and we talk 2 or 3 times a week on whatever issues are coming up and how we can help in Lansing with the city of Muskegon Heights. And Phyllis Loudermilk's had me on speed dial for 10 years. And when she calls me up, I answer that call right then.
Right.
I love.
I don't want to be on her bad list.
Yes. Well, I really do find the sincere value in being able to have open communications with you, Senator Bumstead, and your office and your staff. And as a matter of fact, they reached out to me the other day just to make sure that we weren't missing an opportunity for funding under the opioid settlement. And so, again, that's an example of how collaboration, communication, cooperation can improve the opportunities for our city. So thank you for making that commitment to stay in contact and have that open communication and to follow through on that. What I'd like to do at this point, and hold on a second. Okay. Can't be playing with your phone in the middle of the
I was turning it on.
All right. So what I'd like to do at this point in the show is kind of shift from the discussion about the budget process and what happened with the budget, and talk about what I said in the beginning, the importance of the commitment to go out and actively and aggressively pursue new revenues for the city, because as I said before, and I've said it in many council meetings, our expenses are continuing to increase and our revenues are not. And it's not, the expenses aren't increasing because there's outlandish spending. It's not increasing because people have their hands in the cookie jar or that there's corruption. Expenses are increasing because the price of doing business is going up every single year. That's inflation. So our expenses, our staff has been flat for a number of years, since 2008, when there was a huge downsizing of our staff. We are on a bare minimum, bone dry staff. We don't have backups for several of the positions that we have. And in sports terminology, we don't have a bench. So when somebody who is a starter gets hurt, then we're in trouble. And credit to the staff that has been working under these conditions for a number of years. They're going hard and long because they're the only ones that we can depend on. So this idea that expenses are skyrocketing because of some spending decisions is a false illusion. The problem that we're having year after year, again, is that our expenses are going up just by nature of the cost of doing business, but our revenues are not keeping pace. And so if we're going to change this formula, if we're going to change this calculation, it's only going to be because of going out and aggressively pursuing new revenue. New revenue is going to be the solution. And by the grace of God and Congress and the foresight that they have, we have the opportunity in the state of this pandemic to have this $11 million backstop that was designed to work with communities like ours, to be able to fill in the gap in your budget, to give us an opportunity to catch our breath and get our second wind. So I see 2022 as that opportunity for the second wind. And I voiced it to council. I said, don't spend this money if you're not going to be committed to going out and getting new revenue. And in my opinion, based on my experience in 22 years in government, a degree in master's in finance, a master's in public administration, and a year or so away from a PhD, the way for us to be able to generate revenue the fastest is to take advantage of turning a non-performing asset, and by that I mean the vacant lots that we have in our community, into performing assets by putting buildings on those lots, by building houses. When we build houses, that creates property tax revenue. It creates permit fee revenue. It creates income tax revenue. It creates a customer for our water account. And right now we have 3,700 water accounts. This community was designed to operate on no less than 5,000. So we're about 1,300 in the hole with our water accounts. So the fastest way that we can get to new revenue is by building houses that is within our control today. We have 1,000 vacant lots that we can put houses on. And I heard it said that that is a long-term reward. That's a short-term sustainable revenue. So yes, we build a house today, we get the tax revenue in 2023. Well, actually, if we build a house in 2022, we get the revenue in 2023. So yeah, yes, there's a lag there, but that lag is really short term, and then it's perpetual. So that's why I think it's important to have people at the table like Cliff McLean, like Phyllis Loudermill, who are able to pull together a team to be able to go out there and begin putting a shovel in the ground tomorrow. And it came, like I said before, it came before council on 3 occasions. That 29 lots proposal, and the council made the point. Several council members that voted against it made the point that it required a 5-2 majority in order to pass. According to our charter, it says the sale or purchase of any property requires a supermajority of 5 votes. And unfortunately, when it was brought the first time, it only got 4 votes. When it was brought the second time, it did not get the necessary 5 votes. And then the third time, it did not even get a motion. So if there are council members that were confused, that didn't understand where the obstacle was, that's where the obstacle was. And Mr. McLean, you said to me, what was it that you said? That if I can start today, and that was in end of October, beginning of November, I can have 2 to 3 houses built by the end of the year. I think you might be on mute, Mr. McLean.
No, I was saying, yeah, that could have happened. It really could. I mean, I'm still questioning. I can't understand. It's really hard for me to fathom how come that people can't see this. I mean, it's so simple. I mean, when somebody's not asking for anything and you're trying to put something there that'll work, maybe my motives are questioned, but it's only to see the community grow. I mean, and the only way you can do that is get a tax base and get revenue flowing through the city. I mean, really, I came from that area. I don't want to see it fail. I would love to see it grow. And I'll contend that till I die. Had it not me coming home and met with Phyllis on some other items, I wouldn't even seen the need. Honestly, I would have just been hearing about it. But once I seen it, it's in really dire straits.
Right. But the opportunity is there. If we can take something that's a negative, a piece of property that has trash on it, that has dumping on it, that is overgrown, that is taking value or sucking value out of our community, and flip that into $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 home, I mean, that is a 180-degree reversal. If we do that 50 times in the year after year, like I called for, 50 for 5, 50 at least 50 homes every year for 5 years, that is going to be a complete reversal in the revenue stream for our community. And it's something that we can do tomorrow. We've got 1,000 opportunities that are waiting to be converted to performing assets in this community. And so I appreciate that you have a relationship with the community, that you came from the area, that you saw the value of investing your time and effort back into a community like Muskegon Heights. And, coming from your successes, I understand that you have a successful development company out of North Carolina.
Yes.
I mean, to me, to have somebody of your stature, with your background, with your successes, interested in meeting all the terms that we asked for. And let me go back and mention that we asked for not just to build a home, we asked for them to bring programs for down payment assistance, to bring programs for credit repair,
training.
to bring training and apprenticeships, so that we
Yes.
were hiring people from the community to be part of this process. And I love the idea of people working on the house that they can then turn around and purchase themselves. People from the community that can be part of building their own house and have the resources based on a new job and a new skill set to be able to sustain the purchase of a new home.
So let me be the first, Cliff. Hi, how are you? Good to
Man,
see you. I think what people don't understand, and you didn't either, city manager, I've known Cliff for over 30 years. So when I asked Cliff to come to Muskegon Heights to look at the opportunity, it was so that we could bring together collectively people that I knew that had the ability to do what we had wanted to do. The training, the housing, he automatically jumped in. So we didn't have to recreate the wheel because we worked together before. And so my apologies to you, Cliff, because I think what he asked, and this is a question he asked me, what was different from you, Phyllis, that Avalon walked through the door with ease and I'm at the same table? And I have to be very honest. And he asked me today, he says, how honest can I be? I said, well, I guess you know who I am and I know who he is. We've never been people to not be honest about where we're trying to go. And so council people that you hear, I think what he's asking and is what is the difference? How and why does some people get to the door and others don't? And I reminded him in 2016, I came to the Muskegon Heights at the same time to do the same thing. Now this is how many years later, and I still have not. So Cliff, it's not just you. If you
wow.
subtract 2016 from the date, I still have not gotten an answer, and this is 2000 and almost 22. But my partners with Avalon, for some reason, have gotten a lot more success. And so what we did was we thought it would be easy to go back to bring Cliff a part of this group so we can make it work for you and your city. And so I want to apologize to him, just make sure that he knew that it wasn't him personally.
Well, I mean, I think there's incredible value having an African American builder build in a majority minority community.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that has intrinsic value in and of itself. And so, when he agreed to bring all these additional services like we need, and the purpose of these services was really to be able to make help us make a transition for our renters in our community into homeowners, because we know that the single most significant
The wealth builder.
wealth builder is the ownership of property. And
Yes.
so, in order to create that generational wealth, we need to be able to bring in to transition people who are renting, and they're renting for $1,100, $1,200, $800, $900 a month. That could be purchasing a house that they then own, that is an asset that can stay in their family for generation to generation. And so the fact that he was willing to sign on to that and to be willing to build within 3 months and to pay up front all the taxes on the property up front for 3 years, and stroked a check ready for us to cash for $50,000. I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't have jumped on that, in my professional
Well,
opinion.
the biggest opposition that you're having is people asking us how long will it be for us to start. We're starting in the spring. We have homeowners that are already pre-qualified. We have a bank, which is Flagstar, that's there to make sure. We have a senator on board that's going to do everything in the world they can do to make sure that we can find monies that we may need to help build this. We're not going to come to the city. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to do this. And in other words, we're investing our own resources
Hmm.
to do this because we're not afraid we're going to get it back. So it's not a 5-year ask. It is actually this year, 2022, we will start building.
Right, right. And Mr. McLean, you're ready to go. I'm guessing based on the fact that you were ready to go before, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I know.
Yes.
And it was difficult because he would call me, and say, when can I start? When can I start? And I had to explain to him over and over again or tell him, I don't know why.
But can you imagine how hard it was that I'm the friend that asked him to come from Carolinas to come here?
Mm,
And
Well,
I know we have a jewel. And Cliff, I know we're going to do great for this community. I know, Senator, you're going to be awesome on our team. And council people and your other listeners, I know you guys can do everything you can to move us forward. And we appreciate that.
And Councilman Jenkins, I'm sorry, Mr. McLean, did you want to say something?
yeah, I just hope that the opposition is over. I mean, seriously, because that any community in the country would have taken what I brought to you guys.
Mhm.
I'll never understand that. I'll come, with no hesitation, no animosity, because it's business as usual. But I just won't get that when guys, whoever you are that's out there listening, on the board or council people, I just don't get it. Really, I don't get it. I don't get that one.
Well, I hope now that we have somewhat set the record straight that the opportunity was there and it was not taken up, and that's in our rearview mirror. And I should go back and say, in in um, in January of 2020, I started as the full-time city manager of the city of Muskegon Heights. And in March of 2020, I proposed this program called the Vacant Lot Program so that it would allow us to take these vacant lots. Because when I walked around and I rode around and I saw these 1,000 vacant lots that are overgrown, full of trash, I was looking for a way to flip this into a positive. And so when I presented in March to the council this program that said, let us expedite the process of selling these vacant lots as long as the people who are interested in purchasing them were willing to commit to all of these programs, willing to commit to building in 3 years, willing to commit to paying the taxes up front, willing to provide these programs. If they're willing to do all those things, they've signed the document, they've signed a power of attorney, a quit claim deed that protects the city if they fail to follow through on that. And if they promise to maintain the property from the moment that they get it, if they're willing to do all these things, let's expedite the process of getting the property in their hands. And council approved that in April of 2020, this lot sales program that says as long as they check off all the boxes, all we have to do is bring it back to council and get it approved by council, and they're off and running. Unfortunately, when we brought the second set of lots, which was Mr. McLean's lots, the response was, no, we need 5 votes in order to do this, and we weren't able to get the 5th vote. And that's where things stalled. It still requires the 5 votes of the council. So I hope in this obstruction, whatever it is in the rearview mirror. And now in 2022, we can have this expedited process move forward. And that was just the first phase of the program that I presented. The second phase of the program was the rehab program, which was designed to focus on the middle of the market to be able to rehab our existing homes that are in disrepair or abandoned, to rehab them so that we could fill that price point between $40,000 and $80,000, so that we could also transition people out of rental into the lower, the middle scale of those homes. And so it's a two-part process that is in place that if we are ready to go and embrace the opportunity to create new revenue, it can be done like that. So I wanted to ask Councilman Jenkins to come back in, and I know you had some ideas in terms of the value of building new homes, and then in turn with that, connected to that as part of that, bringing new industry into the community.
Well, once again, thank you to Senator Bumstead and to Mr. McLean and to Ms. Phyllis. Thank you all for coming back and having that trust in the city of Muskegon Heights, and giving us another opportunity to be able to shine and to grow through what you guys have and what you all can help offer the city of Muskegon Heights. I think that's one of the things that I look at is our collaboration, being able to come together, and Mr. McLean being able to forgive and move forward and know that we're going to do our due diligence and not look backwards and try to make everyone feel like this is a friendly place. This is a place of friendly people that we can build and grow and welcome people with open arms. That new businesses will come in, new homes will come in, new families will come in. Not only that our city, but our school system will grow, our families will grow, our communities will grow.
Yeah,
Our playgrounds will grow. Our streets will grow. So we can keep going and going and about growing.
that's good.
And this is what's exciting to me. This is why I'm so optimistic. I believe in what we're doing. I believe in the vision. We know that anything that lacked vision perish. But even before I ran for city council, I started seeing the vision. I started seeing what the possibilities were. I saw the potential of being open-minded, the unended opportunities that we have in the city of Muskegon Heights. We have things that other people don't have. We have all this land. We have plenty of land, plenty of businesses that can come in and create a future, create a livelihood for their families. We have that right here, and to no end. So I'm really, really happy that we are in this position. I know I have a lot of confidence in council that we're going to move forward. I really, really do. Like I said, I'm just an optimistic type person. I know I don't fault anybody for asking questions because one of the things that I do see is that we are asking questions and that is needed. We should. I've seen so many times in our upbringing, Mr. Bell, that we get documents and things in front of us. Many times we've seen people just sign them, and agree with them, but not knowing the in depths to them. But I am really pleased. At least we fought until the end of the hour. We did, to the privilege that we were able to pass it, but we passed it, and we agreed to disagree, but we're moving forward. So I think with the confidence and the better of our communications, we're going to do that. I'm looking forward to the new homes because we have a water filtration plant that is not used even, I don't even think, to the half of its capacity. We're very close to it. And I think when we are able to open up, that's going to take a lot of pressure off our citizens right now. Because right now, as you stated, we have maybe 3,800 homes that's taking the heat for everything that we got going on, and we are already understaffed. Let's keeping it real. We are very, very understaffed at our city. We can't really afford to hire the right people or more people to come in and to fulfill the positions that need to be filled. But we are trying real hard. We're really trying really hard to come up with different ways, different strategies of fulfilling these positions. And it's up to us. It's not just up to the city manager. It's up to us as council. It's up to us as citizens, and our other municipalities to come in with us and to offer their help, offer opportunities, ways of doing things. Maybe, like we said, collaborating because we don't have all the expertise and the help in the business office, in the finance office, in the inspections office. So we reach out to other municipalities and say, hey, can you help us with these things? Can you help? Lend your helping hand. So I'm actually excited about where I'm at. Like I told them in the meeting, I'm new to this thing, and I am just willing to work with every single one of our council people to hopefully. I'm a coach at heart, so I'm able to take nothing. I would say it that way, Mr. Bill. I think you heard me say it in a different term. I can't say it on the radio. But I'm able to take nothing and make something out of it. And that's one of the things I think God has blessed me with the opportunity of bringing a team together and making us winners. So I think that we're going to be able to do that here in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, we were successful in getting 13, I think maybe 15 lots sold. They agreed to all the stipulations that were there in the process. They have 3 years to be able to build on the property. They haven't built on them as of yet, but that's understandable because of COVID. But let's look at the fact that we have 3 years of taxes that we've collected from those 15 properties. Those 15 properties are cleared and are being maintained. That's 15 less properties that the city has to maintain and care for. That's 15 less properties that are accumulating trash and that are overgrown. And they have a year left to be able to build. So I don't consider that a lack of success, though. But what's concerning, though, is that when we had the proposal for the 29 lots, that got stopped. And this whole program is precipiced on being able to expedite the process. And that process says that if the all the boxes are checked, that we move it through and get it going. And here we have an example with Mr. McLean where that didn't happen. And yes, we can post that process on the website. There was a question about putting that process up. And if you're interested in going back and looking at the minutes from the April meeting of 2020, you'll see where council approved that lot sales program and the process associated with it, which quite frankly was the similar process that staff told me was being used before, except it didn't include all the documentation. It didn't include all the stipulations. It didn't include
The
prepay.
verifications.
Yeah, verification is it didn't include prepayment of the taxes. We added all that in to justify an expedited process. Before, the process was you were interested in buying a lot, you put your $100 down. There was a form that was filled out. It went to council, and council approved it, and it was done. And many of those lots ended up going back into foreclosure and coming back to the city. So that process has been the process and practice. All we did is take it to the next level in order to justify an expedited process. And unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Mr. Bell, can I have a second?
Yep, go ahead. Jump in, Senator.
A lot of you may not know, but my past history, I was a building contractor for 35 years. I built custom homes. So I see the vision here of Mr. Bell and what can happen in Muskegon Heights. It's a great opportunity, but I want to let everybody know it's my office, but it's our office is there to help the city of Muskegon Heights through the process of how we can help in Lansing, help with different pockets of money, different, if it might be DEQ issues, DNR issues, MEDC issues. We have an expert in our office with all those departments. And wherever we can help out, I will guarantee you our office will be on it.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Bumstead. Thank you.
Yep.
So going back, and thank you, Senator, because new promise of a higher heights is something that we have embraced. And so I thank Cliff for coming to the team, and we're going to do everything we can to assist him as well. With the existing housing, one of the things we want to let your audience know is that we do know that you had people to bid on them. And so there is room for them as well. So Flagstar Bank has a program, and so we'll work with the senator. We want to make sure that if they get in a hiccup, then they have somewhere to go so they can move forward in their process as well. We're going to start, and we're going to have a special meeting on January the 7th. And we've asked you if we can host that at the city. And thank you. You said yes. So the senator and I are going to send out a letter. And so that council people that you're going to be asked to be there as well, so that no one can feel that though they were left out. At that meeting, you're going to have state people, bankers, different level of expertise, so that we are ready to move in the spring. And so we're going to hope that people will come and they will listen and ask questions, so they would be very well learned about what we're going to do. In January is our first time home buyers. We're going to do them with people that's in the hotel and other citizens to get their credit ready and to look at what type of housings they look at and what they like. We've partnered with Oglesby, which is at the Housing Commission. So there are things that we can help, because there are people that are there that may be paying a lot of money that can now have a house. We partner with other housing, so that they have people there that is Section 8 that may be paying $900 a month. We want those people to be people to buy those homes. So there's all kind of ways for us to fill in those gaps. So I don't want anyone to think that there's no way people are going to move here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that I get phone calls all the time about, do you have any new houses that are being built? I mean, we've got 3,000 jobs that are recorded as of 2019 in Muskegon Heights, and 2,800 people commute into our community to fill those jobs. So only 200 people live and work in our community. So building new houses is a way to offer an opportunity for those people who are commuting from places as far as Grand Rapids to now live in the community. And that's, I mean, that's a shot in the arm for our tax base. And it's the target market analysis that was done. You hear me talking about that over and over again. It was an 80,000, actually $75,000 study that the Treasury Department paid for, that said that we could build 200 up to 200, and it said between 175 and 200 homes a year in Muskegon Heights and not meet the demand for new homes. And so the opportunity is there. We just need to reach out and grasp it. And I would like to say that I would love to welcome, and great comments that are in the chat there. I'd welcome everybody to come in on Wednesday the 12th to City Hall in the evening, 5:30, and be able to have a conversation about those people who want to get involved. You know, we started the process by talking about doing events in Muskegon Heights, and we have a team that's coming together to be able to lead that. And I believe Miss Aubrey was one of the people that was interested in participating in that. So I would welcome people to come in at 5:30 on Wednesday the 12th, and let's sit down and start planning for the spring and for the summer. Internship programs would be fantastic to be able to get young folks into City Hall. We've got conversations going on with Pathfinders about how we can bring students in on a regular basis to get exposed to City Hall. With the school district, with the new superintendent, those conversations are going on as well. With the career technical education program as well. So lots of opportunity on the horizon where we can collaboratively pull together all of our resources as a team and get the city moving in the direction of reaching new heights.
It has been over 20 years we have not had a real estate office in Muskegon Heights. We just partnered with Keller Williams. Keller Williams is a partnership with the Latimer Group, and we're looking for 20 young people to become realtors. And we recognize that in doing that, they may not have had the fees. So we're going to fund that for them, that they would pay it back. So I'm hoping that the housing.
Now, would that be located in
It's
Muskegon
going to
Heights?
be in Muskegon Heights. It's called
Excellent.
Keller Williams and the Latimer Group. And the reason why that's important, and the reason why I'm saying that, we needed a mortgage company. We need real estate companies. We need so many things in our community that everybody else has. So when I presented the new promise to Keller Williams, they were all over it. So we signed that agreement back early in November. We officially are married, and now we have a real estate company, and it will be housed in Muskegon Heights. That company will create jobs so that we can have realtors to sell homes. Who better to sell the homes in this area than people that live here?
Right.
So it's a effect of a domino effect of what we're doing. I have great people on this team that I think that, and the houses will be excellent. You have a senator, but I know Cliff builds quality homes. Langlois Builders out of Grand Haven is one of those people. WODA. We are people that can bring this. Christ Temple, we were talking with them with their housing shoulder. So if all of us come together and pull our own resources, there's no reason why we cannot rebuild this city. No.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're at the point where we got to wrap things up. I really appreciate everybody joining for this helpful conversation about us being able to reach new heights. I think the commitment from the council to move forward and to aggressively go after new revenue streams is important to the future of the community. I thank all of council for coming together and approving the budget so that we are not in fear of default. We have grant money that's coming in. I think in the last year, we're, at least since I've been here, somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 to $5 million worth of grants funds have been awarded to the city of Muskegon Heights. And we're on the verge of another $7 million revolving loan, of which $5 million will be forgiven or a grant. So there's people outside of our community that are seeing the value of putting money in, and whether that's grant money or personal or private investment, it's coming. And we just need to come together and wrap our arms around that and paint a vision that everybody can get behind. And I think that's the key I mean, we talk about it over and over again, and I think Senator Bumstead alluded to this, that without a vision, people will perish. And so with a vision that everybody can get behind, we can go after that revenue, and we can begin to remake our city in the sense of a renaissance without displacing people, without displacement gentrification.
And one last thing,
Mhm.
I want us to remember, the senator said that what we have in our community is not unusual. There are people all over the state that has problems with their budget, and they walk away and they balance it. So this is part of business. All over the state, there are people that may not understand the rules, but they end up working together. And so I want people to know that Muskegon Heights is not uniquely that we have a unbalanced, or what they call unbalanced budget. For years, we have never had it, but for years, we've always worked together. And so, Senator, thank you for at least alluding to the fact that we were not unique in this alone by ourselves.
All right.
Sometimes people think it's just us.
And let me reiterate, because there was a question in the chat, this meeting that I just talked about is an invitation to the community to come together, to have a conversation about some of the events that are coming up that we're planning, being part of that process, and new ideas, and how we can bring in the youth and have them participate in the process. This is what that is about. So I'm announcing it here on this show so that everybody knows, so that you can come in at 5:30 on the 12th and be part of that conversation. One of the things that we weren't able to do in the height of the beginning of the pandemic, that we will attempt to do with social distancing because of the Delta variant, but we need to be able to see each other eye to eye, elbow to elbow, 6 feet away, but elbow to elbow, and have conversations.
That's why I'm looking at you like,
Right. Masked up and lots of hand sanitizer, but to be able to have conversations that so we can mold that common vision, and that the community can be the grassroots impetus for the changes that we're venturing to make. So I'm excited. I hope everybody's excited. Thank you, Senator, for joining us. Thank you, Councilman Jenkins and Councilman Collins. And my commitment, yes, definitely. My commitment as the city manager is to always make myself available. If you have questions to any of the council people, sometimes it's difficult for me on holidays because I do have a family that I need to be present for. But I am in 100%, and hopefully one of those new houses that we're building here in Muskegon Heights will be one that I can purchase.
it's going to be one of yours.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining the show. It was awesome to have everybody in, and I'm excited about reaching new heights. And thank you for joining the show, where you get to know what you need to know, so you'll be in the know on 103.7 The Beat.